Of course, when things got really bad, they did what governments always do. They debased the money. So Spain issued copper coins, right? They called them velón, and they repeatedly altered their content. In 1566, they debased the coinage. In 1641, they did it again. Well, they would promise reform, and then they would go back to debasement, of course, when the money ran out. Now, that destroyed what little confidence was left in the money. But again, the pattern here is undeniable. The gold and the silver doubled in value compared to the wages that could buy it. The elites protected themselves by holding hard assets, but the middle class and the poor, they were wiped out by inflation and currency collapse. And of course, what happened next? Well, Spain lost its dominance. The Dutch and the British rose up. They took over global leadership. Once again, just like Rome, the doubling of gold and silver wasn't a sign of prosperity. It was the signal that the empire was finished. All right, now let's move forward to France, because the pattern again shows up, same thing, and this is right before the French Revolution. By the late 1700s, France was already drowning in debt. Of course, the monarchy had spent far beyond its means. They were fighting wars like the 7 Years' War and even funding the American Revolution. By the 1780s, the state was effectively bankrupt, right? They couldn't raise taxes fast enough, so they turned to a new experiment in paper money. By 1789, the revolutionary government began issuing what they called assignats. Now, at first, they were supposed to be backed by this confiscated church land that they had. That sounded solid on paper, but of course, once the printing press started rolling, there was no break, right? There was no stopping them. By 1795, in just 6 years, the French had issued over 45 billion worth of these assignats. Now, the currency literally collapsed in value. Just to put this into perspective, when the assignats were introduced in 1790, one gold louis d'or was worth about 15 livres. By 1795, that same gold coin was worth about 600 livres. That's a 40-fold collapse of the paper currency in just a few years. In other words, gold more than doubled. Then it doubled again and again. And of course, at this point, the money was worthless. And just like with Rome, and just like with Spain, the consequences were catastrophic. Hyperinflation came, destroyed the savings of the middle class. Wages lagged for years and years and years. Bread riots broke out all across Paris. People literally couldn't afford food. Confidence in money and the government completely evaporated, and the political fallout was immediate. The revolution turned violent. The reign of terror saw tens of thousands executed, including the king and queen themselves. Now, the entire social and political order collapsed, and France spiraled into chaos before Napoleon eventually seized power. Again, the pattern can't be more clear. When gold doubled, and in this case, against the assignats, it wasn't prosperity, right?